You always felt like a fraud, waiting to be discovered. Then you were. They found out you had no idea what you were doing. Neither did anyone else. That's when you realized nobody did. The senior dev reviewed your code. You held your breath, waited for exposure. He approved it without reading. You know, because you'd left comments that said, "This is broken. I don't know why it works." He didn't notice. Or he did. And he also didn't know. The imposter syndrome was supposed to be irrational. Turns out it was the most rational thing about you. You joined the company as junior developer. They gave you tasks you didn't understand. You learned to Google frantically. Copy, paste, modify until it worked. You assumed everyone else actually knew what they were doing. They didn't. The tech lead, who mentored you, asked you to explain your solution. Not because he was testing you, because he genuinely didn't understand it. You realized this when you made something up and he nodded thoughtfully. Took notes. Your fabrication became documentation. Your guess became best practice. The promotion came. Senior developer. You panicked. Surely now they'd expect competence. Surely now someone would ask questions you couldn't answer. They did ask questions. You answered with more questions. Turned your ignorance into Socratic method. They called it leadership. You called it survival. The architect who designed the system quit, left no documentation. You inherited it. 15,000 lines of code. No comments, no tests, just working. Somehow, you were supposed to maintain it, improve it, explain it to others. You couldn't explain it to yourself. So you did what you'd always done. Pretended. Made confident assertions about systems you barely understood. Used jargon to fill gaps in knowledge. Nodded seriously during meetings while internally screaming. It kept working. The intern asked you how the authentication system worked. You had no idea. So you walked them through it line by line, figured it out together. They thanked you for the patient teaching approach. You'd just learned it 30 seconds before they did. The promotion to team lead forced you into meetings with executives. They asked technical questions. You gave answers that sounded technical. Used words like scalability and infrastructure and optimization. Spoke with enough confidence that they didn't ask follow-up questions. The follow-up questions would have destroyed you. You didn't know anything deeper than the surface. Nobody asked. The company grew. Your team expanded. Now you managed 8 developers, 8 people who looked to you for answers, for direction, for expertise. You gave them all 3, none of them real. The system crashed. Production down. Customers angry. Everyone looked at you. You looked at the error logs. Saw nothing familiar. Felt the fraud discovery moment approaching. You said, "Let's troubleshoot systematically," which meant, "I have no idea. Let's guess together." The junior dev found the bug, a memory leak. You nodded as if you'd expected that, as if you'd been leading them there. You hadn't known what a memory leak looked like until that moment. The company called you an expert, put you on interview panels, asked you to assess candidate technical skills. You looked at their code the way the senior dev had looked at yours. You pretended to understand, approved the ones who seemed confident, rejected the ones who seemed nervous. You were hiring people based on their ability to fake competence, just like you. The conference invitation arrived. They wanted you to speak, share your expertise, teach others your methods. You almost declined, almost admitted you had no expertise to share. Then you realized neither did anyone else on the speaker list. The imposters had taken over, built an entire industry on collective pretending, on confidently delivered half-truths and borrowed knowledge. You gave the talk, room full of developers. You spoke about problem-solving approaches, about learning systems by breaking them, about admitting uncertainty. They took notes, called it refreshing, called it honest. You just described your permanent state of confusion as a methodology. The promotion to principal engineer came with a realization. You'd been waiting for someone who actually knew things, someone with real expertise, real understanding. They didn't exist. The senior principal who trained you admitted over drinks that he'd been faking it for 15 years, that every architectural decision was educated guessing, that the confidence was performance. The CTO asked you to explain a system you'd built. You walked him through it. He admitted he didn't understand the company's infrastructure, just trusted that people like you did. You didn't. The imposter syndrome was supposed to fade with experience, with seniority, with proof of competence. It didn't fade. It clarified. You weren't an imposter in a world of experts. You were a fraud in a world of frauds. Every confident assertion was covering uncertainty. Every technical decision was a best guess wrapped in authoritative language. The industry ran on collective improvisation, on good enough, on working without understanding why. The junior dev came to you, admitted they felt like a fraud, that everyone else seemed to know what they were doing. You told them the truth. They don't. None of us do. We're all just Googling frantically and hoping it works. They looked relieved, then horrified. You understood both feelings. The system you built 5 years ago, still running. Critical infrastructure now, thousands of users. Nobody knows how it works. Not even you, especially not you. It works because it works. Interrogating it too closely might break the spell. The imposter syndrome was right. You are a fraud, so is everyone else. The ones who succeeded weren't the ones who overcame it. They were the ones who kept going anyway. The medical term exists now, Universal Competence Illusion. The collective delusion that someone, somewhere, knows what they're doing. They don't. They're all just you, pretending, surviving, succeeding despite having no idea. The imposter syndrome didn't lie. It just failed to mention being a fraud is the entry requirement, the job description, the actual skill. You're still faking it. You always will be. The difference now?